Good morning, everyone. Now, the Bhavan anthem will be played, and when it is played, I request everybody in the audience to please stand up. Sorry, if you want, you can sit down. I'll give you another alert. You can sit down for some time. I think they are sorting out some glitch. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ಇಂದಿನ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಸಮಾರಂಭಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತ, ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. Namaste and good morning. First, I want to announce that this program is being live streamed by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan on their own YouTube channel, which is also later available for viewing. The channel is BVB Bangalore YouTube channel. So you can even watch it later. So on this auspicious day of Shankara Jayanti, we are having this book launch, and I want to start by welcoming each and every one of you, our friends, family, everybody who has come from far and near. Thank you for coming. I would first like to welcome Mrs. Rama Ramchandra Rao, who will be felicitated by Moloy Bannerjee. She is the wife of the late Vidyalankara Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao. Come. ಸೊ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನನ್ನ ಪರವಾಗಿ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಭಾರತೀಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾಭವನ್ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಐ ವುಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಟು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಸುರೇಶ್, H.N. Suresh, who is the director of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. Mr. Suresh's interests cover a range of public services, and as a young man with a band of friends, he started the Youth Writers and Artists Guild in 1972 for exploring the visual and performing arts in Bangalore. Even when he entered service in NGAF, he started on his career in the fine arts, and he was mentored by none less than Dr. R.M. Hadpad, the renowned artist and teacher. Mr. Suresh has to his credit a number of one-man painting exhibitions on Nakshatra, Navagraha and Rashi Mandala, which were displayed all over India at places such as Max Muller Bhavan, Alliance Francaise, Bangalore and Chandigarh, Lalit Kala Academy, Chennai. The list is long. He has held exhibitions in India and overseas in London and New York. He has many awards to his credit, including the Karnataka Kalashri Award by the State Sangeet Nritya Academy. He is currently director of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Bangalore, and one of his famous recent series of paintings is titled Ashtadikkapala, which covers the concept of time and space in both Indian and Western thoughts. I request Nagalakshmi to okay. I invite Mr. Suresh to come onto the stage. I request Vinaya to no, you come, sir. You. I will call after that. After that, I will call. I request Nagalakshmi, Joint Director of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, to felicitate Mr. Suresh. I would now like to welcome Dr. Chiranjeev Singh. Dr. Chiranjeev Singh is a former ambassador of India to UNESCO in Paris. An IAS officer of the 1969 batch, he retired in 2005 as Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka. After his retirement, he has been associated with numerous non-governmental organizations working in the field of rural development, environment, and culture. He was awarded the Rajyotsava Award by the Government of Karnataka for his achievements in 2005. Dr. Singh is a polyglot, or rather, I think I should say he's a master of more than 7 languages, which also includes foreign languages such as Arabic and French. Many present here would have also read his regular Kannada column, which appeared in Vijay Karnataka. I request Nagalakshmi to please escort, Vinaya, please escort. I will now request Dr. Singh to release the book. I request Dr. Chiranjeev Singh to speak. Will you come here? You sit.
ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ವಂದನೆಗಳು. I congratulate Moloy on writing this book. This is a pocket guide to the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, and it is a pocket guide. There have been learned books on the 6 Indian philosophical schools. Khat Darshan, we call Shad Darshan, Khat Darshan. Now, but see, taking the analogy from forests, because we have Aranyak as part of the Vedanta and Veda literature. The latest research by scientists shows how the forests, the roots are interconnected. And when you're looking at the Indian systems of philosophy, because 6 systems and then later on there were other systems. Kalyan here has a book which just shows 7 systems of Indian philosophy because that includes Buddhism. Now, for example, the Bhakti stream, the Lingayat stream, the Sikh stream, these are all systems which have followed these 6 systems. So to find one's way in this forest of philosophies and thought, you do need a guide, and this is the guide which Moloy has produced. Now, there's a very beautiful hymn in the night prayer of the 6, which is recited just before you fall asleep, and that says, Chhe ghar, Chhe gur, Chhe updes, Guru Guru eko, ves anek, Baba jai ghar karte kirat hoye, so ghar rakh vadai toye. Chhe ghar, that is 6 schools, Chhe Guru, 6 teachers, referring to these 6 systems. Chhe ghar, Chhe gur, Chhe updes, the 6 philosophies. But where Guru Nanak Dev goes beyond is that he says Guru Guru eko ves, and the Guru of Gurus is that ek. So anyone who wants to understand what is contained not only in Guru Bani but in all the Indian thought needs a guide like this. And that's why I said I congratulate Moloy on bringing out this book. And for me, it was quite a revelation, because in the same hymn it continues, Viswe chasya ghadiya pehra, thiti, vari, mah, rut anek, that is ritu. So first it is the 6 schools, 6 gurus, and then there is talk of the time cycle and ritu, rut anek. Baba jhekar karte kirto, sokha rakh vadai toye. Rut anek. I mean, here he says, and this was something quite eye-opening for me also. One of the foundational principles of Indian thought is the concept of Rita, which can best be described as an eternal moral order, which regulates and coordinates everything in the universe. It is ultimately responsible for the natural and moral functioning of the universe. Rita operated in the physical, ethical, and ritual domains in the physical sense. Rita ensured sunrise, sunset, seasons, and all natural phenomena. In the ethical sense, Rita exemplified the moral order in the universe and the humanity. Now, I mean, for me it was quite a revelation. I mean, I used to think that this hymn by Guru Nanak was about oneness, that the Guru of Gurus is one. But if you now, in the light of what Moloy has mentioned here, the Guru not only has talked of the 6 schools, he has talked of Ritu through the cycle of seasons and time. And you find revelations like this in the book if only one is very careful in reading between the lines of this book. The preamble, he calls it preamble, it is the first chapter, which sort of ties up the whole system's background. I think that's a masterly summing of the 6 schools and the entire Indian system. Now, I was, in fact, once I had to represent India when I was in UNESCO for the Millennium Conference on Religions, because no one turned up from India. For Indic religions, I had to represent all the Indic religions, and then I said that what unites the Indic religions is the concept of dharma and the concept of omkara. Both these are dealt with at length in this book by Moloy, because I think this is what unites us. Also, he touches on the non-Vedic systems, though the book is mainly about the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, but the systems of philosophy or religions do not occur in a vacuum. So there are mentions about Buddhism and Jainism and other traditions here. But the question now is, where do we go from the systems of philosophy? If one is thinking of this in our day-to-day life, from this to the bhakti, which is the basic you can say objective of our life, how does one travel to that? It's very interesting that Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao, in his Dhyas Bhashya, had said that Bhaja Govindam, which is attributed to Shankara, is not written by Shankara. He is probably the only major scholar who has said this. He's written that just because in the complete collected versions of Shankara published in Chennai, they included Bhaja Govindam, so it is considered as Shankara's composition. But nonetheless, the start of Bhaja Govindam, this is Moha Mugdara, that is how to get release from the moha attachment, basically, that nahi nahi rakshate dukrun karane. At the end, all this learning will not lead you to liberation. So from the intellectual grasp of the 6 schools to the realization that you have to move beyond these 6 schools, how do you do? That is actually, at the end of this book, you will start thinking about that. This is what Moloy is leading to. And that's not an easy journey. And I'm glad, I was very happy to see the book. Actually, I came just a day before yesterday at night, and Moloy had left the book at my place, and I saw the book. And for me, the great delight was that it was dedicated to Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao. And I'm glad that Srimati Rao and the daughter-in-law, his daughter-in-law, are both with us here. They are the keepers of Professor Ramchandra Rao's legacy. I also had a lot of contact with Professor Sahab. In fact, when Purandar Dasa's 5th centenary was to be celebrated, I requested him to edit the complete available works of Purandar Dasa. You will be surprised to know that no complete version of Purandar Dasa's Kritis was available in Kannada. The first one, the book that came out, it was all oral tradition, came out in Tamil. And that was, I think, brought out by M.L. Vasantakumari's mother. But this was Professor Ramchandra Rao very graciously accepted to edit, and the book came out in 4 volumes. And later on, as Administrative Training Institute director, I used to invite him to talk to the IAS officers of 6 to 9 and 10 years seniority, which was an all India course, to talk on ethics. and values. And at the end of his very learned lecture, I mean, he was one of the most profound scholars I have had the privilege to know, and Moloy had the privilege to be disciple of. At the end of all that, he would say that all ethics breaks down to this, that is, do unto others as you would like others to do unto you. So, I mean, in the Greek philosophy, this is called the golden mean. If you Google golden mean, you will get this. The summing up of Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao's teaching was this golden mean, and that just shows that in spite of all the learning, ultimately it is the conduct which really matters. He did not believe in rituals, etc. himself. Yes, worship, daily worship and prayers, etc., but he was not a believer in rituals. And in fact, just before he passed on, he had asked me to bring a copy of Pran Sangli, which is attributed to Guru Nanak, but is not part of the canon in the sense that it's not included in the Guru Granth Sahib. So I got it from Punjab when I went there and gave it to him. He was then in the process of studying Guru Bani, but unfortunately he left us so soon, and all the teaching which Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao imparted to Moloy and the group is reflected in this book. In that sense, it is a summing up of his teachings also. Therefore, this book is doubly welcome, as Moloy's effort to understand the 6 schools of Indian philosophy and communicate that understanding to the readers, and also as the summing of what he learned from Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao. This is a valuable work. I should now say that this is a book which should be translated into all Indian languages. The National Book Trust does this work, but it's such a bureaucratic organization, I don't know how to get through to them. I would still say that this should be sent to them with the request that translate it into other Indian languages. Also, at least Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati has been set up to translate works into Kannada and from Kannada into other languages. Moloy, one should send a copy to them with a request that please translate this work into Kannada. You see, Moloy is a scientist and a manager, and in his questions to Professor Ramchandra Rao, he has that attitude of trying to break things down into the components. And this is how there are charts in this, there are tables in this, because that's how a scientist's mind works. So in that sense, it truly is a pocket guide. And it was needed because there are learned books on the 6 systems. 50 years ago I had, because there are so many references to Shad Darshan, Khat or Khat Darshan as it is in popular language, or 6 systems. Khat and Shad is, 6. In Guru Bani, so I bought 50 years ago Hiriyanna's school, 6 systems of Indian philosophy, etc. And then there are other books which have come out. The Radha Krishnan is there, Dasagupta is there, which is a very learned this thing. I could never bring myself out to read Radha Krishnan because having got to know about the man, I said, no, one who doesn't practice what he preaches, I am not going to read him. But this is a guide for those who would like to delve deeper into this. Because ultimately, all questions boil down to who am I and where do I come from, where do I go, what happens to me. And in the Kathopanishad, it is the dialogue between Nachiketa and Yama. After all, he goes to the Yama's land and asks him questions. So, whatever Yama replies is part of this six systems of philosophy. Ultimately, it is in how it's not just learning, abstract learning or mental this thing. It is how you have all this in your practical life. As Guru Nanak Dev has said, "Sacho ure sabko upar sach acha." Truth is higher than everything, but higher still is truthful living. So this is a guide to truthful living also, and it helps you in your in finding answers to your basic questions. So thank you very much, Moloy, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to say a few words about your book, and also to pay my homage to Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao. You know, he was unique. He came from the traditional learning, and then he was equally a great scholar in the modern and Western systems, and he headed a department in NIMHANS. So you can see his range from the Institute of Neurosciences and Mental Health to traditional learning. This is something unique. I don't think there is anyone like, or there was anyone like him. And so this is a great tribute to his guru also. Thank you, Moloy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh, for that very wide-sweeping and erudite talk that you have given. I think the audience here will also get a glimpse of what to look for in the book. Now I would like to invite Raju Swami to please come on the stage. Raju Swami is from the first batch to have passed out of IIM Calcutta. He worked as an executive in several automotive companies, and 3 decades ago he decided to quit to follow his passion, which is advising family-owned business groups in India. All that he gained from his consultancies and talks with the family groups, all his insights, with that he has authored a very informative book. I have read it myself. It's called Family Business in India, a National Asset That Needs to Professionalize. This is a very interesting book because it's speaking about a very niche kind of businesses. I request Raju Swami to give a small introduction to the author.
Thank you, Kanchan. And appropriately, I think the personality behind a classic has been pretty well described by Dr. Chiranjeev Singh, and my duty really is to sort of define the human being behind that classic. Okay, so it's more like he's far above in terms of classic thoughts, philosophy, compared to what I have been specializing in. So I consider it an honor that I have to say something about Moloy. Moloy and I have known each other for over 40 years. We are both from the early batches of IIM Calcutta. I am from the first and he is from the third. And it has been a very pleasant association for me. So when I was invited by Kanchan and Moloy to introduce him today, I not only felt honored but just felt justified in wanting to read the over 40 pages I prepared to introduce him. 1 page for every year I knew him. That I discovered was a wrong move, as I was strictly warned by Kanchan that my time was 5+ minutes and that's it. Obviously, out of their genuine concern for all of you, even more precious friends here today. So what I'm presenting is but a very, very diluted version of what he is and what he has actually achieved. He is the human being behind that great book. I will come quickly to the point. The Moloy I am familiar with is 3-headed, like the super god we look up to. He has been a teacher in management in IIM Bangalore and continues to be sought after for his guidance. He has been associated successfully in management and entrepreneurship as an extremely successful professional manager and later as a pioneering entrepreneur internationally in the IT development and business sector. He has helped many startups and has been on the board of directors of Indian firms, Oakdean Software Technologies, VST Tillers and Tractors. The chairman of the VST group is here. Investment Sciences Private Limited, Babel Systems and Joshika Technologies amongst others. He has also been on the board of companies in the UK and the USA. Obviously, he does not show off about all this, but it's solid. He's got a solid background. Particularly in the time when Bangalore was coming up in the IT sector, he was one of the participants, very prominent participants. He is a noted expert on Hindu religion and philosophy, the reason for us to get together today for the book that has been released. Some of his other publications in the past include papers published in the Indian Philosophical Quarterly, University of Pune, Cognitive Simulations, some philosophical observations, General Systems Philosophy and Samkhya Yoga, some remarks, Short-term and long-term memory, a Buddhist view. We've been great friends, but believe me, I mean, some of it is above. In the 1980s, he was associated with the Chinmaya Institute of Management and brought out discussion papers on facets of management which had similarities in the exposition of the 3 Indian branches of philosophy, Samkhya Yoga, Mimamsa and Vedanta. These were used extensively in teaching groups of executives. Something he has said appeals to me personally. We notice that today religion is identified with rituals and traditions, and the philosophical foundation is often forgotten. But each of the Indic religions and their sects have a strong foundational philosophy. This handbook is an attempt to rediscover the different philosophical systems which were prevalent in India. It has very little to do with religion as it is understood and practiced today. I think we are all used to the rituals, and we sort of, that overloads and covers up the reality of philosophy. My introduction will not be complete without also disclosing that Moloy is a serious golfer with a rare achievement of having scored a recognized recorded hole-in-one at the Bangalore Golf Club a few years ago. Somebody can ask, and there are a lot of golfers here and they are aware of it. Somebody can ask, what is a hole-in-one? So I'll just describe it in the best way possible. You go on top of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, have a golf club and a golf ball, hit it towards Vidhan Sauda. At the main gate of Vidhan Sauda, you dug up a hole. He hits it from here and the ball falls into that hole. That is a hole-in-one. Okay? There are rumors in the golf club that some of our friends have trained squirrels to push the ball into the hole where it falls. Anyway, so there is a different personality of Moloy that I had wanted to show. Moloy's wife Kanchan, while being a source of great inspiration, encouragement and support to Moloy, is a great contributor to society in her own right. She is the managing trustee of Akshara Foundation, an NGO working in the field of primary education in Karnataka. She is also a trustee of Karunashraya, a hospice for terminally ill cancer patients. So he's also already been presented and the book has been released, but I'm again saying hello to the great man and presenting him to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raju, for that very sweet and intimate talk about Moloy. I now invite the author to speak.
Yesterday when I was preparing for the book, I mean trying to make some notes etc. for today's talk, my wife reminded me that brevity is not only the soul of wit but also of wisdom. Do not bore the people who come to listen to you. And I promise you I won't do that. So first of all, just relax. This may be philosophy, but hey, listen. Something which was reminded of when we were students. Some chap would say, this proof, in mathematics things we used to do is sexy. Can you imagine mathematics being sexy? But it was. So I just want to say, I want to say what really attracts people to philosophy, or what should attract people to philosophy. That will be the theme of my talk, short. First thing, pranams to my guru. As my friend Chiranjeev was trying to tell, he really was a remarkable soul. And I have met a lot of people who are erudite, scholarly, etc. But the breadth of his enthusiasm and actual learning, it was genuinely remarkable. I've never come across, and I'm telling you, I've met several people by desire. I wish to meet more people like that. He was an absolutely remarkable man. Much more important was the humility with he would approach each person who is speaking or who wants to learn from him. There were people who were formidable scholars, and I have sat down when they were talking to him, who were traditional scholars, actually older than him, and he spoke to them in a particular way. And when he would speak to me about the same things, he would speak in a totally different way. And this shows the humility of the man in imparting knowledge. That's why I acknowledge him again. Okay. In my book, I first say, why did I write the book? The reason is a couple of points. Long back, when I was still a student in Bombay, I used to attend J. Krishnamurthy's lectures, which was at the JJ School of Art under a big nice tree, etc. And it was a very seductive philosophy which he said. He said, first, hey, first thing you have got to discard all this nonsense about Upanishads and this, that, the other. Think for yourself. Very seductive thoughts. Similarly, I also used to have attended, not too many, Krishnamurthy's I was pretty regular whenever I could. Osho, he still then was Bhagwan Rajneesh, not Osho. And I attended his lectures also. His was not like Krishnamurthy's, but at the end of it, think for yourself, which was again seductive. But then later on when I started thinking and, doing a little bit of reading here, there, etc., he said, if you don't know what to discard, what will you discard? I mean, it is okay for a very wise man, or say Professor Ramchandra Rao, when he is 70, is saying, discard all this and go for, Chiranjeev says, go for the Guru of Gurus, etc., which is fine. They know what to discard. Hey, I don't have anything to discard. I don't know in the first place. So that inspired me to start learning about things, philosophical. Started reading first the usual traditional Mahabharata, it's not the Mahabharata, which I did much later in life, Upanishads, etc., etc. But what really got me inspired was actually a textbook type of thing, which I doubt if any of you. In the 50s, the book was written by Karl Potter on presuppositions of Indian philosophy, which actually talks about each of the philosophies and what are the assumptions behind. So that book I read when I think I was about 24, 25. And that got me hooked on to learning philosophy in the proper sense. I could not do anything about putting them down, although I'd been learning. And for 25 years, I learned with Professor Ramchandra Rao till I retired. I really retired 3 years back. Although some people, and I hope you don't think I'm 78, but I'll be 78 in August. So when I was 75, I said, no, I must put whatever I've done in some sort of a distilled form. After all, if my great guru was so nice and so humble in imparting to me, if I can't put for the next generation, I think I would not be doing my duty. So the book is aimed, I must say with all due apologies, not really to people like you, but to your children. I will be really, really happy if after you guys have bought the book and let your children or coax them a little bit. And if they read it, that will what will really make me happy. Because with all these things, great ferment which is going on in India, none of us can deny this. Hindutva, Sanatana Dharma, this, that, the other views express this side, views express that side. It is better if the younger generation get to know the fundamental, foundational facts. Okay. So let me start off by saying this. There are, as I say in my book, primarily 8 systems of thought which are, you might say, ancient. If I were to divide, I would say till about the 14th or 15th century, 14th, 15th century, one India, beyond that, another India. So all the things which are current now, like Sikhism, like what Sant Kabir has to say, what the Bhakti movement of Mirabai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, etc., which is what we practice, know, etc., that is pretty recent. And just to give you a bit of historicity of fact, this is what I learned from Professor Ramchandra Rao. Till the 2nd century BC, before Christ, there were no temples. We didn't have any temples. And we learned about temples from the culture of the Mongol, not really the Mongols, but today's Uzbekistan, people like that, where we got it from Afghanistan down here, Gandhara then, is they used to build a stupa, which is the Sanchi stupa at the crossroads, where they used to bury the bones, either the whole skeleton or whole body, or more importantly, the relics of their leaders. From the concept of stupa, we got the concept of temple. And the first temples which really went to Krishna was upon this thing. I mean, when he told me about this, I was astounded. But he says, no, these are facts. So I just want to tell you that what we do now is relatively recent. And what is there in my books is 1,000 to 1,500 years before that, so post-Upanishads, pre-Upanishads, etc. So what are the 8 systems of thought which I have introduced, and I'm now going to talk only of what is there in my book, is Buddhism and Jainism are 2 systems which stand by themselves. And the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, which, as Dr. Singh tells us, is very intimate, is connected. Each thing is connected. But they stand independent of themselves because their interpretations of the few things which I'm going to talk about now are different. So first thing I want to say is there is only one goal in all the 8 systems, which is what? Liberation. What do we mean by liberation? It is a thing which actually concerns all of us. People, you might say, what is liberation, etc. ठीक है, we learned from our parents. But you know what is liberation? Sometimes there is more important, more often when we are very ill, we come to say is, who am I? And where am I going to, where am I going? Exactly what Chiranjeev was saying. It's like this. I've nearly spent 80% of my life. Statistically, I will definitely be dead within the next 20% left to me of my years. If I don't consider who am I and what am I going to be after I die, which is certain, which is absolutely certain, since as of now I have not become God, what triggers off is a sense of both wonder and suppressed grief, both. A sense of wonder and suppressed grief. This is what must have led the original philosophers to talk about what they wanted to say. If you want liberation, let me again repeat, all the 8 systems, and in my, as you were saying, I've made charts and all that in my book, and the charts have 12 things, which I will come to later. 12. The first thing is objective. And here I must say, my friend Ravi, where are you sitting? In any case, he's the one who helped me in making these charts. I had the ideas, but he's the one who made this into a managerial grid. Objective is liberation. If you do not want liberated, some sort of liberation, do not proceed, because there is no point reading it. Okay. Then, what are the 6 systems of Indian philosophy? 2 most people have heard of, yoga and Vedanta. Most people have heard of these 2. The other 4 are not heard of, but some of them occur quite often. The first one is Samkhya. Anybody who has read the Gita will have to come across the word Samkhya. So Samkhya is the oldest philosophy which we have. Then is yoga, which is old in the sense of practices were there, maybe philosophy wasn't there, and it was codified by Patanjali in about 2nd, 3rd century BC. But yogic practices have been there even when Samkhya was there. The third one, which incidentally we combine these 6 things into pairs. So Samkhya and yoga are combined into one pair because their basic concepts they have some foundation which is common to both. Similarly, we have Nyaya and Vaisheshika, which I will talk about all this a little bit only. Nyaya is basically, you might say, logical systems, logical thinking, etc. And Vaisheshika is Vishesha, which means distinction and atomism. What really makes us, or what makes the world, the universe. And the next one is Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Purva means before, Uttara means after. What is Purva Mimamsa? It is that body of knowledge which is pre-Upanishad, that is purely Vedic. So Purva Mimamsa talks about that. Incidentally, which I will again mention, Sanatana Dharma has to do with Purva Mimamsa primarily. And Uttara Mimamsa, which is now known as Vedanta. Why? Because it talks about the Upanishads. Upanishads are the end of the Vedas. Veda, Anta. Veda, Anta. Anta is end. So Vedanta. So these are the 6 systems. And this is what I talk about in my book. Okay. I want to make a remark over here, which is purely my remark, not which I have got from anybody else, is all this 8 systems exist because they wanted to prove the first system of thinking, which was the Charvakas, or some people call it Karvaka. So the Charvakas' philosophy was materialism. What I can perceive, touch, feel, yes. I cannot perceive something, not interested, don't want to know, doesn't exist. So this is called materialism. All the 8 systems were brought in to combat this Charvaka people. So where did we start from? Combat materialism. A lot of us now, for example, they say in a consumer society, etc., etc. All of us are very strongly materialists now. So can we get out of being materialists? Yes, if we try and see what these philosophies are trying to tell us. The Buddhist systems and the Jainist systems are called Nastika systems. Nastika doesn't mean atheist. They do not believe in God, but that is not why it is said. Nastika is because they do not believe in the Vedas. All the other six systems which I have described, believe in the Vedas. That is why we call them the Astika system. Okay. Now, I just want to talk very briefly about a few things. First one is, as I said, liberation. If you do not have a concept of liberation, you need not go any further. So, in the grid which my friend Ravi has helped me in making, we talk about 12 things, and this is the only thing about the book which I want to tell, because it will really be a ready reckoner type. So the 12 things are, one is objectives, and the other 11 are path, method, origins, important concepts, metaphysics, logical systems, cosmogony, belief systems, ethical systems, ritual system, and a summary. So these are the 12 things, and I wanted to tell because while reading the book, you will find that this is very useful to you if you look at that first and then try to find out answers. All of these things may not interest you. Some of this may interest you. You can go to the relevant questions because the book is structured in a question answer manner. The next concept I want to introduce you is another concept. Just as I said, moksha is common to all 8. There is one more concept which is common to all 8, which is karma. Without karma, you cannot have Indian philosophy. All the 8 systems believe in karma. Now, this is a point of departure from most other civilizations, I must say. I don't know about the Egyptian things, about their mummification and things like that. Certainly, I'm no expert in that. But karma is what distinguishes the Indic civilization from other civilizations. Now, there are 3 types of karma. One is sanchitan. What is sanchitan? Is accumulated in past lives but not matured. That means I have to believe, if you believe in Indic civilization, that I've had past karmas. If these past karmas are there, some of those have matured, some of those are yet to mature, and it will happen in the future. Those which have not matured, we call sanchitan, and those which have matured is called prarabdha. That means what has happened in some past life of yours is going to happen in this life. Those things we call as prarabdha. The third one is kriyamana or anarabdha, which is the current life karmas, which is being accumulated. I mean, the current life. So something past lives, not yet matured, so not happening now, may happen in future life. Some which will happen this life, which have matured from past life. Some which are accumulating, which will happen in future lives. So this is the way we do this. And the distinction is the Nyaya and the Vaisheshika system believe that the karma is conducted by God. So there is somebody who is God, and it is he who controls your karmas. This thing also found belief later on. As I said, after the 14th, 15th century, this thought became more prominent. Actually, the Nyaya Vaisheshika had started not being really God or theological, but later on it became quite God-centered. All the others, that is Samkhya, Mimamsa, Buddhism, Vedanta, do not believe that God has anything to do with your karma. The law of karma is autonomous. It happens. Why is it? It is there. There's nothing which you can do about it. It is there. So, in a lighter vein, I was reminded while I was writing this. Actually, it occurred to me yesterday. Now there is a Devanand film. I think it is Bazi, and I think it is Geeta Bali. And Geeta Bali is telling the gangster type movie to Devanand. तकदीर से बिगड़ी हुई तकदीर बना ले अपने बाहों पे भरोसा है तो एक दांव लगा ले. So तकदीर means circumstances and takdir means fate. So circumstances have changed, but your fate, etc. But put your thing. Law of karma says, man, absurd. This is not valid. So I just thought I will tell you that Geeta Bali was wrong. Okay. So the next one is, as I said, about dharma. I will not repeat because the point about dharma which I had put is exactly what Dr. Singh has said about it. So dharma has two things, the spiritual and the material interpretation. And the harmony is what matters most in dharma. What matters, what is dharmic? Now, if I use the word dharmic, you will say, oh, he's a religious person. If I tell so-and-so is dharmic, you will say, oh, that person is religious. It has nothing to do in philosophy. It is no such thing. So what is being dharmic is being true to what you are doing. A butcher has his own dharma. If he should perform his work in his own manner. I have a dharma of doing something. I should do it in my own manner. So growing rice has its own dharma. Teaching children has its own dharma. And what does the word dharma mean, and is one of the most important concepts in Indian philosophy? Dharma comes from the root dri, to uphold. So the common thing given to first year philosophy students is anything which upholds. So the four wheels of the chariot upholds the chariot. So the dharma of the four wheels is to uphold the chariot. So dharma is anything which upholds. What can uphold is harmony. Until and unless you have harmony, it won't. Somewhat of this concept is there in the yin and yang principles of the Chinese. Harmony is very desirable, and in us, dharma is, so each person doing his own dharma, the world is good. Some person who is doing adharma is not good. One peculiar thing about this, you know what the word adharma in Jainism means? It means to be rest, to be at rest, inertia. So there the dharma and adharma is recognize the dynamic, and the world is dynamic, you are dynamic. So the Jainism says, if you recognize the dynamism of things, you are being dharmic. If you are inert, you do not recognize the dynamic nature of the universe in yourself, in everything, you are being adharmic. This I just remembered about dharma in that sense. About Rita, I will not say. He has already said, he has actually read out from my book, and it is certainly one of the most important concepts. And you not believe, there is a Rita for Vishnu, there is a Rita for Indra, there is a Rita for kings, there is a Rita for you and me. All the things point out is again and again, like dharma, harmony. Whatever upholds and brings harmony, that is Rita. So Rita, bringing out the seasons is Rita. Doing your own work in a proper manner, say as the Gita advises, without this, fruits of results, etc., is also Rita. I cannot leave this without talking a little bit about Buddha. I will not say anything more. Buddhism is such a huge thing we think now, and all this Buddhist thoughts, Dalai Lama's preachings all over. But fundamentally is what the Buddha told at Sarnath in his first lecture, when he gave the lecture at the Deer Park near Varanasi at Sarnath. There are 4 truths, he said. And this has certainly, I have been very affected by this thing. What are the 4 truths? The truth that there is suffering, the truth that there is a cause for suffering, the truth that there is a cessation of suffering, the truth that there is a path leading to cessation of suffering. And this is what the Buddha tried to say. I won't say anything more about Buddhism. In my book, you can find out. Incidentally, Buddhist philosophy is extremely shukshma, and with Professor Rao, one of the famous Buddhist thinkers was a person called Nagarjuna, with Karinde, Andhra. He was based at Karinde, Andhra. Just to get this being heavy, so just to give you a little joke, bring in a little bit of levity. Once an employee was being absorbed in our office, so my manager came and said, "Sir, this chap seems to be all right, but I don't know if he's well rounded. Can you sort of find out whether we should take him or not? Technically, he's all right." So I said, "Fine." So I asked this person, "Where are you from, sir?" He said, "I've done this degree from Nagarjuna University." So I said, "Who's this Nagarjuna?" He said, "There's a very famous actor, sir." And here I said, "I spent 1 year learning what Nagarjuna told Professor Rao." Okay. The other point, after which I will come quickly to the 6 systems, is Indian system believes in pramanas. I was speaking to my friend Kalyan here the other day. Pramanas are very, very important. All the 6 systems, and actually even Buddhism and Jainism, all the 6 systems have to say, "I am saying this and this is my proof." So what are the pramanas which are this? One is pratyaksha, which is perception, which can be related to senses. Next one is anumana, which is inference, or arriving at a new conclusion of truth by applying reason to previous observations. Third one is arthapati, which is postulation or implication, which is conditional knowledge. The first 2 are pretty simple, but this, why this conditional knowledge, etc. matters. I'll give a simple example. To reach from my workplace to my home, it takes me 2 hours. I have left my workplace, 1 hour. It takes workplace to home, it takes me 1 hour. I have left my workplace 2 hours back. I've still not reached home. Why? Bangalore traffic. Now, this type of things, and you see, I've given you a very simple example, but with these type of examples, the most abstruse philosophy are simplified. Then the next one is anulopabdi, which is negative proof, which is right now there is no elephant in the room, but you have to use those type of examples. And the last one is shabda, which is basically somebody authoritative has told you. Normally in Indian philosophies, we take the Veda as shabda, as what the Veda says is true. Not necessarily, but by and large it is examined. So I have to talk to you about the proofs. The last point after which I will start touching is the 6th system is the agamas. What we practice today as an occasion to refer to the past is primarily the agamas. And what are the agamas? They talk about, one is cosmology, which is important. Where did everything start from? Then epistemology, which is how do I know what I know? Third one is philosophical doctrines. Other is yogic practices, temple constructions, and mantras and deity worship. or deity worship. So these are the things which the agamas teach us or tell us all about. These are scriptural knowledges. So now, in this century, if you want to refer to something and say, who said this? You have to refer to the agamas. And how is this worship occurs? Worship can occur in three forms. One is spoken, which is mantra. Other is symbolic instruments, which is yantra. And the third one is rituals, which is tantra. So mantra, yantra and tantra, these are the three things which constitute what the agamas tell us, and that is how we live our life now. This is what Sanatana Dharma is all about. There's some debate about Sanatana Dharma going on in TV shows. If you want to know what is Sanatana Dharma, this is what Sanatana Dharma is about in short. Of course, my book talks about it a bit. Quickly, I will leaf through this, the 6 systems. The Samkhya is the oldest. The Buddha's guru, he was Uddaka Ramaputta, he was a Samkhyavadi. So, Samkhya was a well-established philosophy in Buddha's time. The Samkhya tries to tell us that truth is experiential. If you cannot experience truth, it is not truth. I mean, you don't believe in it. And it takes to one concept, which is the first concept is that of Prakriti, which is the cause of the universe, because without a cause, you cannot go. So what caused, you can say Big Bang. So Samkhya will say, fine, it's all right, Big Bang. And after that, they come across 24 different things, ending with the Purusha. Purusha is completely inert. Sadashiva, completely inert. So what has caused is the Prakriti, which is causing things. It goes through various evolutions. One of the evolutions is Buddhi. Another evolution is Ahamkara. You must have heard of these terms. And then it evolves into the 5 senses, the 5 elements, that is earth, air, fire, water, etc. Important concept in Samkhya is it also has the 5 tanmatras, which are potentialities. The other things you can read in the book. But what it introduced the question is, just like we have potential energy, Samkhya introduced the concept of potentialities. And they said, potentiality of something is what determines the next action. Nothing else determines the next action. However, these potentialities, which is being enacted upon, is based upon karma. This is what Samkhya would try to say. What is the liberation? When Purusha and Prakriti, if it can get together, universal harmony, that is what Samkhya is trying to say in very short. Yoga, which is the next one, and as it is paired with Samkhya, yoga is crystallized by Patanjali. It is not his original efforts. Of course, he must have put something new. But basically, all the yogic thinking, yogic practices are put there. And what is yoga all about? What is it's worthwhile finding out what the word yoga means. I've got 3 meanings: yoking, method, and effort. Yoking is very simple. Yoga means as you yoke a bull to a bullock cart, yoking. I'll tell you what that means. Then method of yoking and the effort which takes in yoking. What is being yoked or what is being there? The individual soul and the Brahman. Brahman is the universal soul. If I can yoke both of this together, I have done yoga. Okay. Patanjali gives in his books, which is Patanjali Yoga Sutra, 8 paths to this. And he says 5 are external, 3 are internal. So the external worlds are called Bahirangas, internal are called Antarangas. What are the Bahirangas? And this is something which all of you, this is sort of must know for most people of you. One is Yama. Yama means abstention. Second is Niyama, which is observance. Third is Asana, which is posture. Next is Pranayama, which is breath control. And the last one is Pratyahara, which is withdrawal of the senses. And what are the internal ones? Dhyana, which is fixed attention. Dharana, which is contemplation. And the last one is Samadhi, which is concentration. So these 5 and these 3, a total of 8, make up Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Post Patanjali, as in the Gita, for example, we believe is about 200-300 years after Patanjali. It introduces different concepts like Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, which is salvation through wisdom, Bhakti Yoga, salvation by divination or divinity, Raja Yoga, which is by training of mind, etc. But these are not Patanjali's things. One thing to note about Patanjali is this God. There are several proofs which is there in the book, but one proof is there, which is, according to Western philosophy, I think it's a very neat point. He says, we can't prove there is no God. So why are you saying there is no God? There may be God. So there is God. Just believe. Why do you want to say there is no God? So this is what Patanjali had to say about God. As far as the Nyaya and Vaisheshika things are concerned, I do not intend to say, because it is logic and it is complex in nature. But I would like you to observe when you read my book about 2 things. One is Nyaya. When you read the chapter on Nyaya, just concentrate on one thing, which is, how do I know what I know? Which is epistemology, we call this in philosophy. How do I know what I know? Nyaya prescribes several things to say, you know this because of this. So I'll just give you some simple examples. If there is smoke, there should be a fire. Now, there may not be a fire. Nyaya will tell you when, yes, there is fire, or when there is no fire, how do you do that? Or if you're seeing a rose and the rose is red, but you put a blue crystal in front of the rose will appear blue. So Nyaya will try to tell you in real life and in various other thinking of formulating how to go about thinking with proofs. Remember I told you about proofs, inference and so on and so forth, etc. This is what Nyaya does. What does Vaisheshika do? Vaisheshika primarily controls who am I and how am I and of what am I constituted. If I am, I'm perhaps built of atoms, and how do I say I am this? And with similar atoms, similar atomization concept rather of fire, earth, water, which are the abstract concepts, why is that person different? Why am I this and why am that? Similar things. So they bring in a concept called dravya, which is substance. And there are 9 dravyas, and then there are gunas, there are 24 gunas. And how dravyas and gunas mix. And they say, this is how we should look at things. For example, the Vaisheshika concentrates a lot on categorization and classification. It is like a linear system. They will say cats and tigers are same. However, one of the gunas out of the 24 which I've told you is magnitude. Tigers are bigger than cats. Therefore, tigers are different than cats. But essentially, cats and tigers are same. Can you say cats and tigers are same? Yes. But what about the magnitude? So they would make you answer questions like, is a baby tiger a cat? You know, such things, etc. Then Purva Mimamsa is basically it believes in the Vedas, and what the Dhruva Shatto, we call it Bengali, like the North Star, it is a permanent feature. Purva Mimamsa has got to deal with the Vedas, and all our social, psychological theories which we have can all be attributed to Jaiminis, this Purva Mimamsa. Although it was 2nd century AD by somebody called Jaimini, the other people who were middle age in the 11th, 12th century, etc., Prabhakara and other people, they brought in several concepts based upon which we have our Dharma Shastra. To give you recent history, when Warren Hastings was the governor in Calcutta, the British period, Warren Hastings commissioned lots of Pandits who had come from various places, Kachi being one of the prominent places. They are the ones who brought our Dharma Shastras and said, this is the Indian law. But for the board of directors in London and maybe some other people here, today, instead of the Indian Penal Code, you would have had our Dharma Shastras as your criminal code and civil code. And where is that? All that is based upon what Purva Mimamsa texts tell us. So this is most important. Again, I told you about Sanatana Dharma. Purva Mimamsa, if anything, has to do with Sanatana Dharma in a very, very important way. The last one is Vedanta. Vedanta, I just don't want to, it is such a vast subject, but I will try to be very brief. Vedanta, all of you might think it is Shankara, Adi Shankaracharya. By Shankara, I mean Adi Shankaracharya. That's not true. There is a person called Badrayana, around 400 years after Christ, CE. He wrote a book. Now, this is called Vedanta Sutra. What is Ved, Anta and Sutra? Veda is Veda, as you know. Anta is end, which is Upanishads. Sutra is stringing together. But basically they're aphorisms. The best way to understand Sutra is aphorisms. Like somebody of you might understand the word Karika. Karika means half words. Normally they're put into half words, but basically this Vedanta Sutra, why did he have to do it? Two reasons. One which is not talked about much, one which is talked about much. The not talked about much is around 400 years after Christ, the Upanishads, people thought, most scholars thought they were dualistic, like Samkhya. I told you there's something called Prakriti and there is Purusha. So they thought it was dualistic. Badrayana said, no, the Upanishads are one. Brahman is only one. And he brought about a concept that, no, this is we call the concept of monism or Advaita. That means single. So this is why Badrayana had to do, primary cause for him was that. Secondary cause was Buddhism and Jainism had started ruling and the Upanishads were going down. So he thought we should have this. Okay. Then Shankara, of course, is the most important person in this thing. And Shankara introduced some concepts, which I will be extremely brief in saying. He introduced a concept called Maya. Now, Maya you may think is illusion. No, it is not. Maya is something like the primary cause. So instead of giving you a theory of Vedanta, I will tell, I'll give you an example. Here Raju Swami has come, and Raju Swami has come and said, hey Moloy, how are you, etc. And we had met a few days back, and I see Raju Swami in the glasses and this reddish shirt, etc., and I think this is Raju Swami. So what am I doing? I'm doing something transactional. Now, what is the other way of thinking? This Raju Swami is the progeny of hundreds of generations and millions of people, etc. He is a part of the universe, and this Raju Swami acting with me currently is acting out his past life karmas. I can see it like that. Now, what Shankara would try to say, that is the correct way of seeing it. And what you are doing transactional, that means just seeing him as he is like now, this is avidya, error. Avidya doesn't mean ignorance. It is error. So, do not indulge in error. And there is no difference between the Jivatma, the individual soul, and the Brahman, or Paramatma, we call, and the universal soul. And until and unless in every moment of your waking life, you can see both of this in a unified manner, there is no hope for liberation for you. Now, this is such a profound thought, and with apologies to people who are well versed in Advaita, like Dr. Sudha here with in the audience, I'm trying to put this extremely simplistically, but this is what he would say. He also, Shankara dealt with, he commented on Badarayana's Vedanta Sutra. Brahma Sutra is this commentary of a commentary. And a couple of things which he brought has gained parlance. One is this, that he talked only about 10 Upanishads. He restricted himself only to 10 Upanishads. One of them was the Mandukya, which says, if you really want to know who am I have 3 states. I can be waking like we are now. I hope we are all now. Some of us may be dreaming right now. I hope we are not, but we do dream. And the third is all of us have deep sleep, where we are neither dreaming nor awake. And there is a 4th position, which is not 1, 2, 3, 4, but a thing which observes all 3. We call it Turiya. Turiya can be translated as 4, but Turiya. So he went into depths and showed us. I was talking about transactional and transcendental. In dreams, what do you do? You think you are angry with somebody and you're hitting him, or you're loving somebody, etc. But is it transactional there in a dream? Have you ever thought about this? No. So he brought about this, and then he brought about a concept of the Rajo Sarpa thing, which is Maya. He says, let's say it is dusk and there is a rope there and we think it is a snake. So he said Maya has 2 aspects of it. One is something is termed as avarna, which is it first makes that rope into a snake. And then the second one, which is Vikshepa, is it makes us see that thing as a snake. Now, he gives the snake and rope as a metaphor. But in life, if you realize, if you don't think through deeply, you have a transaction with somebody and you think this is the end. But the transaction, A, has not ended, B, because it will result in karma. Second is, that transaction, what you think, if you don't think a little bit more about it, you may be thinking in complete error. Most of the time we think it is an error. So this is what Shankara tried to say. Post Shankara, we really don't know when he was born. As Dr. Singh says, Bhajagovindam is not his. This also what I learned from Professor Ramchandra Rao is, and I told to this my wife's friend, Vantara Kini, I don't know if she's here, Saundarya Lahiri is not the done by Shankara. And she was very upset. No, Moloy, how can you tell that? So Shankara, one small correction, Chiranjeev. What we know about Shankara is between just before the First World War, the then Pontiff of Shingeri Mutt, he asked Srirangam, Vanivilas Press, to publish the collected works of Shankara in 20 volumes. So what we think, whatever the Vanivilas Press has said is whatever Shankara thought. Not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. But hey, it's great poetry. It is great thinking, so why not? But the important part is Shankara, we know, is about 7th century now. By and large, Chintamani in 1928, he established that. In the 11th century, Ramanujacharya, the great Ramanujacharya, came and said, I agree with basically what concepts he's trying to, Shankara is trying to say. But until and unless we posit a God in the front, we cannot have anything going. So it is Ramanujacharya who said without God, and his God was Vishnu. Incidentally, Vishnu is from the word Visho, to flow. Without Vishnu, it's not possible. And then in the 14th century again, we had Madhavacharya, who came and said, complete Dvaita, the monism per se is wrong. So it is two. We have two systems. There is God and there is us. And we cannot aspire to be God. And Madhava went further saying, if our sinners will remain sinners. Ramanujacharya on the other hand said, no, the grace of God is infinite. You can get God. So that's what Chiranjeev was trying to tell me. I should now do the future thing about God. With this, I want to say, I'm sorry if I've taken too much of your time and bored you. You can ask a couple of questions, but I think it will be better if we just go and be in fresh air. Okay? Thank you for listening.
Thank you for very detailed talk, Moloy. Now we come to the end of today's function, and I would request Mr. Suresh to give a vote of thanks.
Could he have? Namaste to everyone. We are very happy this morning to see the wonderful crowd despite being a holiday. That too, talking about Vedanta. Thank you very much for being here this morning and supported this event. So on behalf of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, I thank you each and everyone who made it possible to be here. And I thank Moloy Bannerjee sir for having chosen Bhavan, this venue, for launching of the book. This book is normally, he sold many books before the program started. He's a very wise man. Most of the time, people, when they launch the book, they tell everything from the res. People walk away, anyway we heard whatever the book contains, we just go away. He managed to sign all the books, and now he started speaking. Now he has completed most of his job. So that way, there's the one good thing I noticed. It's good that he sells the book first and then talk about it. And most of the Indian philosophers, you ask the question, why you became a philosopher, they say it's because of my wife I became the philosopher. And I am sure it's the same thing with Moloy also. I think you can give a big round of applause for that. Why not? He just not 6 philosophy, 6 systems, only one system will do enough for you to become philosopher. And you can write 10 volumes. and release it later. So friends, I don't want to take much of your time, and I thank Rama Ramachandra, who has been kind enough to be here this morning, and I am also a disciple, proud to say, of Professor S.K. Ramachandra for a long time. So her presence makes a lot of difference. Our pranams to Professor Ramachandra on this occasion, and also Madam and the family. And our own Chiranjeev Singh, but for him, this function would have not been, happening here. He just came from Punjab just last night and made it possible to be here. And he is our vice chairman of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and former, ambassador of India to UNESCO. Whatever the subject you give to him, he profoundly, speaks. And that is the greatness. I thank him for wonderfully spending time here this morning. And once again, I thank my colleagues, and also this program is going, live. I thank my friends and colleagues who have been on the job. And on behalf of all of you, before I take leave of you, I honor the Moloy Sahib for this wonderful program and his wife. So please accept that. Thank you very much.
Special thanks to Suresh and Nagalakshmi for this function. I mean, I'm very happy that all of you are here, but I notice that we are all from the same age group, past 70, and we seem to have become Charvak, followers of Charvak, who said, Runam krutva ghritam pibet, yavat jivet, sukham jivet. Even if you have to take loan and borrow, but drink, use ghee, and as long as you live comfortably. But the question is how to reach all this to the younger generation. And as I said, I see my friends here. We are all of the same age, post 70s, post 60s, and I hope the book reaches the younger generation. So as Moloy said, once you have taken the book home, pass it on to some younger people. Even if they believe in Charvak Darshan, let them know about the other Darshans. Maybe if the book is put on the net, and there's a net version of the book or audio version, probably the younger generation would go to that. I don't know. That's just a suggestion. And once again, I'm delighted that Mrs. Ramchandra Rao and his daughter-in-law are with us here. Not only philosophy and all, and music. As I said, he edited complete works of Purandar Dasa. When Venkatappa's centenary came, I requested him to write the biography of Venkatappa. And he did that. Just look at the range. The complete works of Purandar Dasa on one hand, and the biography of Venkatappa, the greatest painter Karnataka has produced, on the other hand. So it's this function, in fact, is a tribute to the memory of Professor Ramchandra Rao. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Shri Kashinath Paiji would like to felicitate Shri Moloy ji. I am calling him up on the stage.
Moloy is my guru since IIM days. I'm glad to felicitate him.
Thank you.